Hi everybody, hope all of you are well, and today we shall discuss the laws of chemical combination. In chemistry, the most important topic is the study of chemical reaction, and these chemical reactions are generally occurred or obeying certain laws. These are called the these laws are called the chemical combinations. Now these fundamental laws generally for 5 types. First one is the law of conservation of mass. Second one is the law of constant composition or definite proportion. Third one is the law of multiple proportion. Fourth one is the law of reciprocal proportion, and fifth one is the Gay-Lussac's law of gaseous volumes. So today we will discuss these laws and their limitations one by one. First one is law of conservation of mass. Law of conservation of mass. This law stated by French chemist A. Lavoisier in the year of 1774, and the statement was, matter is neither created nor destroyed during any physical or chemical change, or the total mass of reactants before the reaction is equal to the total mass of the products after the reaction. That means if we take carbon plus oxygen, if there is formation of carbon dioxide gas, so here what is the mass of carbon? That will be 12, and mass of oxygen molecule will be 32. So total mass is 44 gram. And here also in case of carbon dioxide, the total mass is 12 plus 32. That is nothing but 44 gram. So here we can easily understand the law of conservation of mass, that the mass of the reactant is equal to the mass of the product. Now we will discuss the experimental verification. The truth of this law can be verified by one very important reaction, that is called Landau experiment, based on some precipitation reaction. Landau took the solution of silver nitrate and sodium chloride in two limbs of an H-shaped tube known as Landau's tubes. The tube was sealed and then weighted. So the shape of the tube is like H. And in between these two limbs there is one connecting tube by which we can add this solution. So in one container there is silver nitrate solution, and in another container there is sodium chloride solution. Now first we will take, in the sealed condition, first we will take the weight. Okay. Then after weighing, the two solutions were mixed thoroughly. If we turn it upside down, then through this connecting tube there will be one reaction. The reaction is silver nitrate will react with sodium chloride, forming the precipitation of silver chloride, white PBT, plus there will be formation of NaOH. Now we have to complete this type of reaction or this precipitation reaction by shaking continuously and by mixing through this tube. Then after the completion of the reaction, the H-shaped sealed tube was again weighted, and the weight was found to be the same as before. So before reaction its weight is x gram, and after reaction weight is same x gram. So from this experiment we can confirm the truth of this law. Now, according to Einstein theory, is given that E is equal to mc square. That means mass and energy are interconvertible. Just for simple this type of ionic reaction, there will be no huge change of energy or mass. Okay, but there are some reactions like nuclear reactions. The change in mass is quite significant because tremendous amount of energy is released during this type of reaction. So some part of the mass is converting into energy. So if we only calculate the mass of reactant, we may not get the mass of the product equal. Okay, so there will be one modified law of this law of conservation of mass, that is the total mass and energy during any physical and chemical change remain constant. So total mass and energy during any physical and chemical change is constant. Next we will discuss the another law or second law, that is the law of definite proportion or law of constant proportion. Second, law of definite proportion. Or law of constant proportion. Okay. Now this law was first stated by a French chemist, Louis Proust, in the year of 1799. The statement of this law was a pure chemical compound, regardless of its source, is always made up of the same elements combined together in a fixed proportion by weight. Suppose if we take the example of water, we can take rainwater, we can take river water, we can take pond water, or we can take well water. But in the all case, okay, that the compound is fixed, that is H2O, and in each case if we take the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen in water from the different source, the ratio, weight ratio will be 1:8, because 2 hydrogen is there, that is 2, and oxygen is 16, that is 2:16, that will be 1:8. Now if we want to do some experimental verification, here we have to prepare copper oxide. We want to prepare cupric oxide by 3 different methods. First method is that by heating of copper carbonate. By heating of copper carbonate. So if we heat the copper carbonate, then we can prepare copper oxide plus there will be formation of carbon dioxide. Next step, if we apply heat to copper nitrate. Next, by heating of copper nitrate. So if you take CuNO3 whole twice and if we apply heat, there will be also formation of CuO plus 4NO2 plus there will be formation of oxygen. Another or the last case, that by heating of copper in oxygen. By heating of copper in oxygen. So if we take copper and if we apply heat in presence of oxygen, there will be formation of copper oxide. Okay, so this is another method. Now in each case, the same amount of copper oxide, say H gram, is heated in hydrogen gas. Next, we will take the same amount of CO for each case, and if we apply heat, this copper oxide, this cupric oxide by hydrogen, there will be formation of pure copper plus formation of water vapor. Now in each case, H gram copper oxide, the amount of copper and oxygen, amount of copper, and if we subtract it from this copper oxide amount, we will get the amount of oxygen. So in all the 3 samples, the ratio of copper and oxygen has been found to be Cu is to O is equal to near about 4:1. So in this way we can prove the law of definite proportion. So whatever method we apply, whatever the source, okay, but in each case, okay, whatever we are getting that CO, the ratio of copper and oxygen is 4:1. So in this way we can give the proof of this definite proportion. Next we discuss the limitation of this law. This law is not applicable if the elements involved in the formation of a compound have two or more isotopes, or in case of organic isomers like C2H5OH, that is ethyl alcohol, and if we take its isomer, that is ether, dimethyl ether or methoxymethane, then here the ratio weight of the element is same. If we take the number of carbon atom, here 2, here also 2, hydrogen 6 and oxygen 1, in all cases the weights of the element, ratio of the weights of the element is same, but the compound forms are different. That is why here this law is not applicable. Okay. So next we will discuss the third law, that is the law of multiple proportions. Next we will discuss the third law, law of multiple proportions. These statements are very important, okay. Also you have to remember the discoverer, okay, or the name of the scientist who discovered it. So this law of multiple proportion was first proposed by scientist John Dalton in the year of 1804, and this law states that when two elements combine to form two or more compounds, the weight of one of the elements which is combining with a fixed weight of the other bear a simple whole number ratio. So here we can take one example of the different oxides of nitrogen. So here the two elements nitrogen and oxygen are combining with different proportions. Okay, so we write the examples, and if we calculate their proportion, then we can easily understand. First we will take that N2O, that is nitrous oxide, laughing gas, and here weight of nitrogen will be, that is 28, 2 nitrogen is there, 1 nitrogen 14, that is 28 gram. Now weight of oxygen will be in this case, that is 16 gram. Next, if we take the nitric oxide NO, here 14 gram nitrogen combines with 16 gram oxygen. Next we will take that N2O3, dinitrogen trioxide. Okay, so here total amount of nitrogen is 28 gram and oxygen is 48 gram. Next one is N2O4, that is the dimer of NO2. So this one is nitrogen 28 gram and oxygen 64 gram. Next we will take that N2O5, nitrogen pentoxide. Here nitrogen 28 gram and oxygen 80 gram. Now here we have to take the fixed weight of nitrogen. So fixed weight of nitrogen, in each case we are taking that 14 gram. So what will be the weight of oxygen combined? So if 28 gram nitrogen combines with 16 gram oxygen, so 14 gram nitrogen will combine with 8 gram oxygen. Next 14 gram nitrogen is combining with 16 gram oxygen. So in all cases we are doing the nitrogen amount is fixed, that is 14 gram. Next case in N2O3, 14 gram nitrogen will combine with 24 gram oxygen, and in N2O4 14 gram nitrogen will combine with 32 gram oxygen, and the last one is nitrogen pentoxide N2O5, where 14 gram is combining with 40 gram oxygen. Now in these nitrogen oxides we have calculated the different weight of oxygen combined with a fixed weight of nitrogen, that is 14 gram. So hence the ratio of different weights of oxygen which combined with a fixed weight of nitrogen will be, so with the fixed weight of nitrogen the different weight of oxygen is combining, okay, that will be the 8 gram is to 16 is to 24 is to 32 is to 40 gram. So if we do the ratio, it will come as 1 is to 2 is to 3 is to 4 is to 5. That is the ratio of weight of oxygen. So that is 1 is to 2 is to 3 is to 4 is to 5, which is a simple whole number ratio. That means we can easily understand that the law of multiple proportion from this example. Next we will discuss the experimental verification. For experimental verification, we can take the oxide of copper. One will be the black CuO, that is cupric oxide, and another the red cuprous oxide Cu2O. So we have taken 1 mole black CuO and 1 mole red Cu2. These oxides of copper are heated in hydrogen gas. So we are taking the same amount, that is 1 mole each, 1 mole black CuO and 1 mole red Cu2. That CuO will react with hydrogen forming Cu plus H2, and in case of Cu2O, that will also react with hydrogen forming that twice Cu plus H2. Now from the weights of copper obtained in both the cases, the respective weights of oxygen is calculated. Then different weight of oxygens which combine with the same weight of copper in the two compounds are calculated. The weight ratio of oxygen in both the cases bears a simple whole number ratio. So from here we can easily understand this law, that is the law of multiple proportion. Next we will discuss the limitation of this law. This law does not hold good if an element exists in the form of different isotopes in its compounds. We can think about the water molecule. So the other isotopes of hydrogens are deuterium and tritium. So D2O, and if you think about T2O, here it is, this law is not valid. In case of organic hydrocarbon compounds, this law is not valid. Because of catenation property of carbon, okay, it can form that homologous series, that CH4, C2H6, methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane. So in this case, this law will not be applicable. Okay. Next we will discuss the fourth law. Our fourth law was, that is law of reciprocal proportion or equivalent proportion. Law of reciprocal proportion or equivalent proportion. This law was first proposed by Richter in the year of 1792. The statement of this law is that when two different elements A and B separately combine with the same weight of the third element C, the ratio in which they do so will be the same or same simple multiple of the ratio in which A and B directly combine with each other. This law is explained by the following example. Here we are taking the three, or we are considering the three elements sulfur, oxygen and hydrogen. So let us consider three elements. Let us consider three elements: sulfur, oxygen and hydrogen. Now, sulfur and oxygen separately combine with hydrogen to form H2S and H2, and sulfur and oxygen directly combine to form sulfur dioxide. So here I am drawing one triangle so that you can easily understand. So hydrogen is combining with sulfur and oxygen. So when hydrogen will combine with sulfur, it will form H2S. When hydrogen will combine with oxygen, that will form H2O. And when they together, that sulfur and oxygen will react each other, forming sulfur dioxide. Now, according to this law, the ratio of weights of sulfur and oxygen, this sulfur and oxygen, which combine with the same weight of hydrogen, will either be same or simple multiple of the ratio in which sulfur and oxygen will combine each other. Okay. So here, if we discuss their proportion, then you can easily understand. In hydrogen sulfide, if we think about hydrogen sulfide, here two parts of the hydrogen will react with the 32 parts by weight of sulfur. Okay, so in H2S, 2 parts hydrogen reacts with 32 parts by weight of sulfur. Next, we will discuss in case of H2O. In case of H2O, 2 parts of hydrogen reacts with 16 parts of oxygen. So here the ratio is 2:32 and here ratio is 2:16. Now if we fix the weight of hydrogen, that is 2 parts. The ratio of weight of sulfur and oxygen that combine separately with the fixed weight of the hydrogen 2 parts, that will be that sulfur and oxygen ratio will be 32:16. That will be 2:1. Now in sulfur dioxide, what will be the ratio? Sulfur dioxide, sulfur is 32 and oxygen is also 32. 2 oxygen is there. So in sulfur dioxide, their ratio of sulfur and oxygen will be 32:32. That will be the 1:1. Okay. So if we take the ratios of 1 and 2, that means this one and this one, then what we will get? That is 2/1 is equal to 1/1. Okay. Or 2/1 is to 1/1, not equal to 2/1. Here we are getting 2/1. Okay. And here we are getting 1/1. So that will be nothing but 2:1, which is a simple ratio. Okay. Which is a simple multiple of each other. So in this way we can easily understand or prove that the law of reciprocal proportion exists. Then the last law we will discuss, that Gay-Lussac's law, that you already know about it from your class 10 class. This is the 5th law, Gay-Lussac's law. That is the Gay-Lussac's law of combining of gases or gaseous volumes. This law was first stated by Gay-Lussac, who was a French chemist in the year of 1808. And the statement of the law is, whenever gases react together, they do so in volumes which bear a simple ratio to one another, and also the volumes of the products, if these are in gaseous form. Okay, that means Only for gas this law is valid. The measurements of all the volumes are made under the similar condition of temperature and pressure. So here we can take one example so that we can easily understand. Suppose hydrogen gas is combining with chlorine gas, forming HCl gas. So in hydrogen, if we take one volume, so this will be also one volume and this will be the two volume. So one volume of hydrogen is reacting with one volume of chlorine gas, forming two volume of HCl gas. So thus the volume ratio of both reactant and products H2:Cl2:HCl will be equal to 1:1:2. That is nothing but a simple ratio. Now Gay-Lussac's law is applicable only to gases and not to liquids and solid, because in case of solid liquids they have negligible volume as compared to gases. Gay-Lussac proposed that there must be some simple relationship between the number of molecules and the volumes of gases. Later in the year of 1811, Avogadro established his famous law, that is the Avogadro's law. And the statement of the Avogadro law was, under similar condition of temperature and pressure, equal volume of all gases contain equal number of molecules. So hope you can understand these 5 laws. You will read the textbook thoroughly and also practice problem from this law, and we will discuss more from this chapter in the next class. So today up to this, thank you. Okay.